Okay, thank you. Welcome to day number 9. Welcome to day number 9. Welcome to day number 9. Today we're talking about dependent personality disorder. Dependent personality disorder, day number 9. Day number 9. Oh my gosh, I don't know. Is it raining where you guys are? It's raining here. It's cold. It's California. It doesn't look like it. But hey, here we go. Day number 9, dependent personality disorder. We have actually and if you've been following me, and if you haven't, please take a click on the other links and make sure that you watch the other personality disorders. We've talked about 9 different personality disorders at this point. Yesterday we looked at avoidant personality disorder. We're in cluster C. Cluster C is the very anxious cluster, and so today we're looking at cluster C. It's important that we finish this, so we'll finish day 10 tomorrow, and then we're going to host the healing clinic, and which I expect those of you who have commented join healing, you will be a part of it. So let's deep dive right now into the dependent personality disorder. Now, some people feel safe only when they're leaning on other people. This is a room without walls. Living alone or being alone feels unsafe to them. They feel incomplete. Making decisions feels overwhelming. They don't feel complete unless they're with somebody else. The room without walls. We've been using the metaphor of a room. And we've been looking at personality disorders through a compassionate lens. We're looking at it through a holistic, compassionate lens, because we've heard so much about personality disorders. Oh my God, that person is narcissistic. That person is paranoid. That person is this. That person is that. And I've been able to present to you where this is coming from, what's fueling these personality disorders. So today we're going to look at the dependent personality disorder. You might be that person, or you might be in a relationship with that person, or you might know someone who is dependent personality, a dependent personality. Now, this is not just talking about our commonality and our interdependence as human beings. This is talking about something that's actually out of balance. So if you know someone who holds tightly to relationship, not because they want control, but because they are afraid that that relationship is going to collapse without support. This is the dependent personality disorder. It is the room with no walls. We've had rooms, armored rooms, we've had spotlight rooms, but this is a room with no walls. The room has no walls. There's no structure in the room. There are no edges in the room. There is nothing to lean on in the room. And the person feels exposed and they feel unstable. They feel exposed and they feel like there is nothing solid to hold on to. So the moment someone enters that room, they rush towards that person and cling for balance. This person will cling in relationships. Dependent personality disorder. The dependent personality is destabilized because they look around and there are no walls, there are no edges, there's no stability. They feel like they're free falling, and as soon as one person makes it towards them, they just see the one person, they will cling to that person without someone to lean on, without someone to hold on to. They feel completely lost in this world. They feel on edge. They feel like they're going to be sucked in. But when there's somebody there, they feel anchored. They feel stabilized. They feel like everything is okay in the world. This is the emotional world of the dependent personality. They do not feel a sense of self without somebody else around them. Dependent personality disorder. So they have long-standing patterns of indecision. They find it very difficult to make decisions, difficulty making just simple everyday decisions without somebody reassuring them that it's okay, without somebody saying that you've made the right decision or you're on the right track. They're very people dependent. They look unto others to get their assurance, to get their anchor in the world. They fear disagreement. They do not want to disagree with anyone. They don't want to feel destabilized, so they will agree even if they disagree. They will say yes, they will say okay, they will acquiesce. And there's a need for others to take control. They make very good submissives. There's a need for others to take control. They want others to be responsible in the major areas of their lives. They need somebody to take control. They need someone to tell them what to do. They need someone to be the dominant in that relationship. That's a dependent personality disorder. They have difficulty starting, any projects by themselves. They will ask for help. They're going to go to any lengths to make sure that they have support, that they're not alone. The biggest fear is to be alone. Understand this, because when they're alone, they feel like the world is caving in. When they're alone, they feel so lost and they feel destabilized. They just uncomfortable with being alone. There's discomfort in that for them. They will seek new relationships quickly when one ends. This is a person that will move from one relationship to the other because they just cannot be alone. The persistent fear of being abandoned, the persistent fear of being rejected, which is a theme in personality disorders, is just manifested in different ways. So the dependent personality disorder does not want to be alone. Their safety is in relationship. Their safety is being around people. Without that, it feels like a room without walls. They can be clingy because they're afraid. They're afraid of being independent. They do not mind being dependent at all. The world of the dependent personality, the personality is pretty much fear of falling, fear of being drowned, fear, and I don't mean physically being drowned in an ocean or something, just being sucked up by this world. So I like just to use somebody as an example. So we'll talk about Dare. They'll say, so Dare is, will stay in relationship even if she's unhappy. She will stay in the relationship because the thought of a breakup brings more anxiety than actually being in the relationship. The thought of a breakup brings more panic than whatever it is that they're going on in that relationship. So Dare will not know how to handle life on her own, so she would rather stay. So she will say things like, I can't do this alone. I can't do this alone. I can't do this by myself. So I'm going to stay. I'm going to stay in this relationship that's not functional. I'm going to stay here in this job because I can't do this alone. I can't do this alone. So they will stay not because they desire a better outcome. They will stay not because they think things are going to change, but they'll stay out of fear of being alone. So Dara is also going to be, a friend. Let's talk about the dependent personality in friendships. So Dara is going to be the one that calls a friend every single time for every single decision. This is a friend that calls you constantly, What am I going to wear? Is this lipstick okay? And how do I respond to this message? Is this okay? Read this message before I send it. Does this sound okay? Does this look good? Should I apply? Should I apply for this job? Should I go to this place? What do you think about that? She's so afraid of making mistakes on her own that she needs the other person. She needs the friend. She needs the other person for approval. She's always seeking approval for her choices. So in a friend, you might say, oh, Daria looks like a very good friend. But this is a friend that's constantly, wanting you to help her make those decisions. So she'll FaceTime you and say, okay, do I look okay? Is this hair color fine? Is this? What do you think? Should I go to the nail shop today? Just simple things they need guidance on. Basically, they need approval. So what does Daria look like at work? What does, when the dependent personality, what does that look like at work? So yes, she's capable. Yes, she's capable. Yes, she avoids assignments that requires autonomy. She doesn't want to do anything by herself. Or she's constantly asking for reassurance from the supervisors. So she's the one that is in the supervisor's office constantly, just making sure that she understands or making sure that she's in compliance. So she'll be there. She'll find time to come, constantly seeking reassurance. Her biggest fear is not to be surrounded. So she doesn't want to fail, but she's not so much interested in growth, because if she fails, then maybe you wouldn't want her. If she fails, maybe you won't admire her. So it's not about professional development for this personality. It's about, what can I do to please? What can I do to please this person so they don't leave me? What can I do for my boss so that my boss, likes me? So this is a person that's constantly kissing ass, really. This is a person that would, bring this for the boss, and bring this for the team, and bring this for that, because they do not want to be left out. And Daria, since we're picking on whoever Daria is, sorry, we're using your name today. The person, Daria will also jump from relationship to relationship. She will jump from relationship to relationship. As soon as one relationship ends, she's in another one very quickly, like the next day, if she can help it. Because being alone is not an option. That's what I'm trying to get to us here. Being alone is not an option. The avoidant personality cannot be alone, because aloneness is like a quicksand to them. They will sink. At least they think they're going to sink. They're going to be swallowed. So to be alone is emptiness. To be alone is frightening. So they will find somebody else. So you can call them any name. You can say that she's this, she's that. It doesn't matter. The dependent personality is not seeking romance just for pleasure. They need it for stability. They needed to have their feet on solid ground. They need it like you need oxygen. Does this make sense? The dependent personality wants to feel a sense of foundation. They need foundation, and that foundation is people. Either it works or not, they will stick. They need stability. So as soon as one story ends, another one is beginning. And this is unlike the cluster B, which most of them is about control. This for the dependent personality, it's not about control. It is not about control. It is about losing everything. When you leave, it feels as if the world has caved in. And just like all the other personality types, the dependent personality, usually this pattern starts in childhood, just like the other ones. This is where the child has learned that, they cannot stand on their own. So parents, you have to be careful when you make your child feel like they're so dependent on you that they cannot stand on their own. They can't stand on their own. That you're overprotective. This is a result of overprotective parents. You can't let them do this. You can't let them do that. Oh my God, you can't, I have to go with you over there. You need protection over there. You're so overprotective that the child thinks that they cannot stand on their own. You've made every single decision for this child. And so this child thinks that she's not, they're not strong enough to do anything on their own. And they get punished for showing initiative. When they show any type of independence, you punish them. There's consequences for that. If they don't do it your way, then it's not right. They're growing into adulthood with that rigid pattern of dependence. And that follows them all through their lives. And there's emotional neglect. And as soon as there's emotional neglect, then all of a sudden you've showered them with attention again. So if they've done something wrong, you remove yourself, and then you bomb them with love. This also happens in unstable families where attachment has been so fragile. Attachment is fragile. No one can depend on anyone. You never know when love is going to be withheld. You never know when it's going to be given. Everything is so inconsistent. Everything is so unstable. So this child then latches on to whomever is giving the affection. And it doesn't then just go away because you became an adult. And the child has learned, somebody needs to guide me. I need guide. I need a roadmap. I need to know how to operate in this world. I need to know. And some parents feeding, they make sure that their children are so dependent on them. And some are so unstable that the child is grasping for anyone to depend on, right? And so the core message is someone must guide me. The core message is I'm not capable without help. The core message is if I try this on my own, I'm going to fail. The core message is the world is so unstable that I need someone to depend on. If I try something on my own, something is going to go wrong. The core message is that I am not whole unless I am latching onto someone else. And so these belief systems then shape the adult personality. Avoidant personality disorder. So let's look at some myths and facts. I like to go through these myths and facts, right? So one myth is they're very clingy, and it looks like they are. But I just want to talk about why they are clingy. They feel unsafe without support. I hope we're getting that today. They feel unsafe without support. It's almost like I don't have legs, so I need someone to hold on to so I can balance myself. Their behavior is rooted in fear, not neediness. It's not because they're so needy, it's because they're so fearful. Is that making sense? Another myth is we want someone, they want someone else to do everything for them. This person just doesn't want to do anything by themselves. They want somebody to do everything for them. That's a myth. The fact is, they just feel shamed by their dependents. They feel shamed by their dependents because they don't trust their own self. They don't trust their own abilities to do anything alone. They don't trust their own ability to cope alone. So they feel the shame. They feel ashamed of this constant dependence, to have been so submissive, of being sometimes the one that everyone steps on and walks on. They feel ashamed of it. But they just feel that is their lot in life, man. They feel that this is the only way they can cope. This is the only way they can cope. And then another myth, number 3, is they lack intelligence. Oh my God, what is wrong with them? They're not that smart. No. Intelligence is not the issue. It's never been the issue. The struggle for them is confidence. The struggle is confidence, not ability. Confidence. It's not that I don't know my stuff. It's not that I am not intelligent enough, but where is the confidence to demonstrate the ability that I have? When I'm so dependent on everybody, when I want to please everyone around me. Myth number 4, they choose toxic partners. You hear that a lot. They choose toxic partners. Well, the fact is, they fear abandonment so deeply that they will stay even when the relationship harms them. They're not staying in the relationship for the benefit in the relationship. They're staying in the relationship because this is a room without walls. If I let go of my only life source, I will not survive. That's what's going on in their inner world. I cannot survive this. Myth number 5, they cannot be independent. That's a myth, because yes, the dependent personality with support, with some steady therapeutic work, many become stronger and they build better relationships. It works. It works. So if you have relationships where you find somebody, or if it's you, that you go along with everything to avoid conflict, you just you do everything to avoid conflict. You fear losing the person because you think that they give you some stability. Then this is for you today. This is for you. That person gives you stability. That person gives you foundation. That person is the one grounding you in this world. That's you I'm talking to you today. I hope you'd listen to this. If you are the person, you second guess yourself constantly, and you constantly need reassurance just for making simple choices. You're constantly on the phone with somebody. You're constantly calling somebody to just make sure that this decision is okay. There's nothing wrong in counsel. There's nothing wrong with having friends. But when you cannot make decisions yourself, when innately you feel as if you are not enough, and you feel as if the world is going to cave if somebody doesn't tell you what to do, then that is the disorder we're talking about. If you avoid positions at work that require independence, if you're constantly relying on your supervisor, your coworker, bribing them with gifts and your time and everything so they don't leave you. And let's talk about the inner life. Your inner life, if your inner life feels very small, if your inner life feels very unsure, if you're easily overwhelmed, if you feel very destabilized, if just being alone triggers anxiety and depression, just the thought of you being by yourself is worse than you being in a toxic relationship, then we're talking to you. And you see, the thing about it is a lot of this, like traumas and personality disorders, it also find homes in religion. They find home in hobbies that will help perpetrate this disorders. So when you're somebody who is dependent, and you belong to a club or a church or an organization that's needy, then you tend to give and give and give and give and give, and you're always around people, and people might actually tell you that's a good thing. If you're in an organization that wants you to wants to make you dependent, and you're constantly calling your pastor, hey, what do I do this? How do I do that? What's going to happen? This is this. You're constantly doing all of that. So dependent. You see how that now colludes with the disorder, and then normalizes the disorder, and you never even get a chance to look at it, to examine it. But you know yourself. You know your fear of being by yourself. You know your fear of people leaving. You know you've stayed in that relationship for too long. You know that you should be promoted by now. You know that you'll get further ahead if you could just do things by yourself a little bit and stretch yourself a little bit. Right? You know this. So healing is possible. We're so grateful for the brain's plasticity. Healing begins by rebuilding inner structures. Healing begins by a sense of capability, that we are all capable of this, that we all have the ability to rebuild our lives. Neurons that fire together will wire together. So when you begin to act on the core of you that's been hidden for a while, that's never been nurtured, even when you were in childhood, it's so broken, it's so fractured. The good news is you can rebuild it. There are ways to change this. Your therapies that can help you. When if you find some stable environment that can allow you to flourish, right? There's schema therapy, there's CBT therapy, there's assertive training, there's all of this therapies that can help you. Gradual independence can be learned. Gradual independence can be learned. You can learn to own your own space again. Now, healing is not going to remove your need for connection, but it's going to remove your dependence on connection. We're all interconnected. We're interconnected beings. That's who we are. But to only view yourself through the prism of another person, to feel unsafe by yourself, to feel like you're in a room without walls, to feel so overwhelmed that you have to cling to somebody or something that's unhealthy, that is the disorder. That's what needs to change. So healing helps change your perception, that you can stand without collapsing. You can stand without collapsing. You can stand on your own and you will be okay. So the dependent personality disorder is not about the weakness of your person. It's the lifetime message. It is the message that you've heard since childhood that's saying that you're safer when you lean on somebody else. You're safer when you lean on somebody else, and that you cannot trust yourself fully. The room without walls simply reflects that core belief. So if this sounds familiar to you, make sure, or someone you care about, Make sure you join our healing circle at the end of the 10-day blitz. Tomorrow is the last day. We're looking at obsessive compulsive personality disorder. So at the end of the 10-day blitz, make sure that you type in join healing. It's a grounding space. It is not therapy. It's going to be a grounding space where stability begins to grow. Stability begins to grow. So if you are any of these personality types that we've talked about in this past 9 days, if you find yourself in any one of these personality types, either the cluster A, either cluster B, or cluster C, I hope that I've been able to deconstruct this personality types to show that what's fueling this are patterns of adverse childhood experiences or developmental traumas. The belief systems that have been learned that have grown into patterns in our lives. And that's what's happening. And if you live with one of this, if you are in a relationship with someone with any of these personality disorders, remember to keep your own boundaries. Remember, love doesn't heal them. Love is not enough. You cannot love enough to cure someone of narcissism. You cannot love enough to cure someone of borderline personality. You cannot love enough to cure someone of dependent personality disorder. You can't love enough to cure someone of antisocial personality disorder. You cannot love enough to heal someone of schizoid personality. That's not the cure for this. So it's not that you shouldn't love them, but you need to know your love is not enough. You can get destroyed in a relationship if you don't have your own boundaries. So you need to put on your own boundaries and stop the, oh my God, I just love them so much. Stop it. Get your own boundaries. I'm not asking for walls. I'm saying have your boundaries. Because when you have walls, it's going to keep people away, but it's also going to make you a prisoner. So that's not what we're looking at. We're saying that they need help to relearn how to be whole again. Your love is not what's going to make that happen. They need to want that to happen. So if you're dealing with a paranoid personality disorder or the schizoid personality disorder or the schizotypical personality disorder or the antisocial personality disorder or the borderline personality disorder or the histrionic personality disorder or the narcissistic personality disorder or the avoidant personality disorder, none of those will heal because you love them so much. They're going to heal because they decide that they want to be whole again. And until they make that decision, you should protect yourself. You need to stop putting yourself in places where you are wounded and you are constantly getting hurt. Get your own life. Make sure that you find joy. Fill your own cup. And don't die in any relationship. Physically, emotionally, financially, in any kind of way. Until tomorrow, we'll talk again. Thank you, everyone. All right. Thank you, everyone. See you tomorrow. Make sure you join the last show, the last of the 10-day blitz. It's tomorrow. Bye, people.